When I was invited to be a part of the Music Pro 26 conference in Hollywood at the Musicians Institute, I wasn't quite sure what I was getting myself into. Just a week or two before the event, the organizers called me up and told me to go with the flow, so I tried to adopt that attitude. But as the date neared, the sessions got confirmed, the celebrity guests signed on, it became pretty evident that this wasn't just going to be another independent community kind of event. I began documenting my Music Pro 26 journey before I even went down to Hollywood, and that's where this video begins, in preparation. But once I was there, I had as many conversations as I could, I captured as many interviews as I could, and I attended as many sessions as I realistically could. Ultimately, what I captured is one of a kind. There's other Music Pro 26 coverage out there if you go looking for it. What I share here is a documentation of my journey as it unfolded, and it wasn't always a bed of roses, especially considering I was sick when I was down in Hollywood. But with that, I would like to get to my coverage, my director's cut of my experience at the Music Pro 26 conference. I'll see you at the end for some closing remarks. Hey, it's David. So recently I've been going live somewhat extemporaneously as spirit moves to show you behind the scenes what it is I've been up to creatively. It occurs to me that a lot of entrepreneurs have camera crews following them around all day, and they turn the best bits and pieces of the day into content. Now, that's not exactly what I'm proposing here, but I guess it's a little bit like that. So to set the stage here, what I've been working on, or what I was working on these recent live streams, was a t-shirt design. I decided, since I'm going down to Music Pro 26 in Hollywood later this month, I would put together a custom t-shirt I could wear. And the t-shirt could sort of do the hard work of introducing who I am and what I do, so people wouldn't necessarily feel obligated to come up to me, shake my hand, and ask my name and what I do. They could just look at my t-shirt and then be like, "Hey, David." So I'm going to show you some footage from the first session. And what was great about the first session and sleeping on the design ultimately was there was some feedback in the chat. I kind of missed it at the time. StreamYard doesn't always make it easy for me to see the chat across the various networks. I can easily see YouTube, but not necessarily my Facebook group. Turns out there were some comments, there were some suggestions. But anyway, I'm going to show you a time lapse of the first session and what I managed to get done. I try things that are so far from actually what I want before arriving at what I want. It's just part of my neurospicy process. So leave me alone. I'm kidding. The chat's too noisy, guys. Shut up. I need to concentrate. Okay, so that was session number one. And as far as I was concerned, the design was done. It had kind of served its purpose. But again, some of the feedback I got on Facebook made me think twice about it. Like maybe the design was a little too vanilla. Maybe it wasn't peacocking enough. And one of the most frequent commenters in my Facebook group said, your brand, you need to include a star. So I started messing around with this star idea and I was thinking to myself, there's no way that's going to work. It's just going to throw off the balance of the design I've already got. But the moment I put a star into it, I was like, oh, that actually does kind of work. I still did end up having to rebalance the design, but I didn't quite get it all done in the second session because I experienced some issues with Photoshop. But anyway, here's the time lapse of the second session. So yeah, I didn't quite get the design done during the second session. And I didn't know that you could assign more than one scratch disk in Photoshop. Maybe I had done that somewhere way back when. It's not like it's a frequent occurrence that you have to set up your scratch disks within Photoshop. As long as you got some hard drive space, this issue never really comes up. But that's what I was experiencing during the second session. It was just like, I guess I'm going to end this live stream here. Really tacky, but it is what it is. Some of you are probably asking yourselves, like, AI has gotten so good with graphic design. Why would you even bother designing this yourself? Great question. I kid, but actually I did use AI. I did not get it to create a design for me. I just gave it the design and asked questions. And then after about 3 rounds of that, I ended up with this. So the t-shirts have been ordered in a few different colors. And if you happen to be coming down to Hollywood, and I would suggest it, it looks like there's going to be a lot of great stuff happening at this conference. You'll see me wearing this t-shirt. And maybe by next week, I'll be able to show you the t-shirts as well, because they are supposed to arrive, I believe, next week. Friends, let's talk Music Pro 26. Well, first and foremost, one of the reasons I'm excited about this is because it's happening at the Musicians Institute. Now, I'm not the kind of person that has a bucket list. I don't have a list anywhere. It's not like I'm always thinking about when I'm going to croak and what I'm going to do before I croak. But I would say that if there was anything for someone like me to put on their bucket list, it would be
going to Musicians Institute. I've never been. I think I had considered going there when I was just getting started in guitar. In fact, I was considering different places like Boston, Berkeley, obviously. And ended up not going to school. I kind of put myself through the intense guitar training portion of my life by myself. That's kind of what ended up happening. And I think it worked out okay. You know, my guitar skills are okay. But I'm excited to be going to Hollywood. I'm excited to be going to the Musicians Institute. I think that's pretty neat. Opening keynote, I just found out about this today from the event organizer, is going to be Steve Vai, guitar legend Steve Vai, the man who worked with Frank Zappa. His guitar skills are out of this world, but more than that, I would say, his compositional skills. You can't really even fully appreciate them unless you've been playing music for a while. When you're first getting started in music, it's like, that doesn't sound very cool. That doesn't sound interesting. And then as you continue to grow as a musician yourself, you're like, holy cow, this is what composition's about. So that's Steve Vai. I don't know what he's going to share, but it ought to be pretty cool, right? Mike Fink of DistroKid is going to be there. Be honest. If you're a musician listening to this, watching this right now, you are someone who uses DistroKid. That's how ubiquitous it has become. It's not my main digital distributor. I have my own reasons for using what I use. I have, however, experimented, and I enjoy the process of experimenting with different distributors just to get a sense, an inside view. I'm not just comparing and reviewing based on price when I'm reviewing distribution companies. I'm actually going in there and buying their services and distributing music and checking it out for myself. That's how I make a comparison of the various distribution sites that are out there. I don't know about those other reviewers, if they're putting their money where their mouth is, but I sure am. Anyway, I do think DistroKid is pretty cool. And they're the ones who kind of brought in this whole model of you pay an annual fee for unlimited distribution, which, let's face it, that's pretty cool. I am interested and excited to see what Mike has to say about distribution in the modern era. Paul Reed Smith is going to be there. You guys don't know, and maybe you do know, or maybe you were, like me, really paying attention to the music videos of like the late 90s and early 2000s. Those Paul Reed Smith guitars found their way into the hands of so many players. Santana, Mark Tremonti of Creed, Wes Borland of Limp Bizkit. Believe me, the list goes on and on. If you go looking for music videos, I think even Linkin Park. At the end of the day, guitarists like what they like. So, and I happen to think, like, I don't own a PRS. You should probably send me one though, Paul. Like, I'm happy to make content for you and spread the word. I'm sure your guitars are okay. A lot of guitarists decided they were pretty darn good. I once heard them called finely tuned Les Paul. I don't know about that. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but you got to send me one so I can check it out and know for myself. Also worth mentioning, although I'm actually not sure if it's worth mentioning, a lot of guitarists who used to play PRS guitars now seem to play other guitars. But like I said at the beginning, guitarists are just guitarists, right? I happen to own about 3 electrics. Yes, I own 3 electric guitars, and each of them are a different brand. I don't know how that happened. I've traded gear, I've sold gear, I've bought gear, and this is what I have in my inventory right now. Anyway, no need to go further into that. I'll give you one more reason I'm excited about Music Pro 26, and that's gotta be, and I've already mentioned it a bunch of times, you maybe heard me say it, might be ringing in your ear by now, would be David Page of Toto. Now, I love Toto. I love the band. The band is made up of legendary session players. They're all fantastic. They're all amazing. So there's another session that I'm very much looking forward to. So in a previous video, you probably saw the chaotic mess that was the design process for my t-shirt. Okay, well, maybe it wasn't that bad, but you're probably wondering how that thing turned out. Now, by the time you're seeing this, I've already come and gone to Music Pro 26, but I figured, well, maybe we should still do a reveal
video. And the first thing on the docket is the unboxing, and in this case, the unwrapping of the t-shirt. This is a big thing on YouTube and other sites for whatever reason. I don't know why. People like unboxing. So here you go. Here's me unwrapping the t-shirts for the first time. So the bag arrived something like 5 or 6 days late. I guess that's forgivable, all things considered. It's not like I ordered at the last minute, right before heading down to LA. Anyway, I'm gonna open this sucker up. I can't show you the whole process. I am struggling with this bag slightly. Okay, so here's the black one. Let's see. Looks pretty all right so far. There it is. The logo in its all its glory. Looks like a proper XL. I think I should be able to wear it, no problem. So the t-shirts came out looking quite good. Of course, my next question is, how are they going to fit? How are they going to look on me? Some t-shirts fit very comfortably. Others tend to fit a little bit weirdly. I kind of have the body of a pro wrestler or a football player. I am about as lean as I've ever been in my adult life right now, but that doesn't change my body type. So I had some concerns going in. So I tried the t-shirt on, and I must say I was mostly reassured. Yes, it did fit a little bit weirdly on different parts of my body, tight in some places, loose in others, although that kind of seems to be the style of men's t-shirts nowadays anyway. Overall, it was comfortable enough that I wasn't worried about comfort at the Music Pro event. Some of you are probably wondering how it is that I put this whole thing together. Obviously, I designed it in Photoshop, but where did the t-shirt itself come from? I used a service called Printful, and all I did was create a template for this new design and buy from myself. That's really one of the great things about Printful. You don't have to make all of your stuff available for purchase to the public. And I'm a big fan of print-on-demand services. I have yet to see anything better than Amazon KDP in that category. But when it comes to merchandise, definitely choose something like Printful. They've got your bases covered in terms of product variety. Now, some of you have told me that you liked the t-shirt design and would really enjoy and appreciate the opportunity to pick one up for yourself. So what I'm going to do is make a special offer for you on the website. The link will be in the description of this video. I'll also make sure to flash it on screen so you can see where to go to get your own t-shirt and or t-shirt bundle. Well, I made it to Hollywood. Feels a bit like deja vu because I was just in LA in January, and here I am back at the airport. Feels familiar, and leaving the airport feels familiar. There must be a reason why I keep getting invited back, right? I'm getting the sense that it's not a particularly quiet neighborhood. I don't know what I was expecting. It is Hollywood. Why would it be a quiet neighborhood, right? But I think if I put the fan on or the AC on full blast, I should still be able to catch them, should I think. I'm not capturing this in hopes that it turns into some kind of great content or commentary. I guess I'm just going to capture a bunch of stuff this weekend and put it all together into a reel of some kind. So Music Pro 26, I have to admit, this feels a bit like work, guys. And I don't want it to. That's a weird feeling. It's on a vacation, obviously. I don't think I was expecting that. And at the same time, you know, for the longest time, I didn't have what would qualify as a day job. And for the last 1 year and 11 months, almost 2 years, I have.
that experience has mostly been great in a lot of ways. It's been a little bit chaotic lately. But it was the right opportunity, the right time. Could not have picked any better, could not have engineered any better, could not have planned any better. It came and it showed up at exactly the right time when I needed something like that. But, you know, when you take a day or two off of work and you fly out a few hours and then pretty much an hour of Uber on the other side, I guess I'm getting used to it. I don't know. But in some ways, I already feel well-traveled. That's the interesting part. I guess it makes sense because, like, I had inclinations towards being more of a traveler since 2017. And not every trip involved flying. Many did, such as it was still when I lived in Calgary. So I flew out to Vancouver multiple times. I flew out to Toronto. I flew out to Colorado and Texas and places like that. And I think that was the year I went to Japan as well, 2017. And that was just in 1 year, never mind the years that followed. So I guess it kind of makes sense. It was all over Western Canada. That's what ended up happening. So that was an experience all its own. But this year seems like LA, Miami, then a cruise to Bahama. And now here I am back in Hollywood, and only about 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be down in Vegas. Although I guess the conference, or MI, Musicians Institute, is an 8-minute walk. It is past 11:30, and I'm going to have to wind down and catch some shut-eye. Things get started early enough, I guess. About 9:40 is the first session. Plan is to get there a little bit before that, probably around 9-ish or shortly after 9. Catch Steve Vai, connect with my buddy Justin Longo. This should all be great. This should all be a lot of fun. Again, feels like work right now, but maybe by the time I have a chance to shake a few hands and hug a few people, and chance encounters, chance meetings, I can only imagine there's going to be some of those, because I've been in the music business for so long, and a lot of the people there have been in the music business for so long. It'd almost be surprising if I didn't run into some folks that I know in some way, shape, or form. It's cool that it's an 8-minute walk from here, though. I think that aspect of things will be very convenient. Still need to kind of deal with the realities of what am I eating, what am I drinking. But, you know, I'm feeling better now. But for about 2 or 3 days, I've really felt kind of sick. And I don't know if it's food poisoning or a bug. Like, it was a fever. And I don't think I'm feeling it anymore after the plane ride, which is weird. But it still seems like my ability to eat solids, I haven't really been eating a lot of solids the last few days. I made an attempt at it and generally just felt sick and nauseous if I did. So I guess I've been doing more of a water, juice, smoothie sort of diet, which is what I'll probably continue to do, unless my body says, sure, you can go eat other things, because I know there's so much down here. I'm such a foodie, and I would love to do more. It depends very heavily on how I'm feeling, I think. Nothing wrong with water and smoothies and juice, though. I think there should be convenient enough options.
Are you worried about algorithm updates, like, at all? Look, it doesn't matter whether you're on Google, YouTube, or Facebook. Every platform has an algorithm, and the attention you get, even your latest music release, is 100% dependent on how the platforms prioritize views. The latest Google update caused blog traffic to tank. It's really volatile out there right now, especially with the emergence of AI. Isn't it time you started locking in your backup plan? What you need is an email list. My recommendation, get started with Kit, an email marketing platform built specifically for creators. Go to davidandrewwiebe.com/convertkit or use the QR code on screen to start building your email list today, because before long, it might be the only way you can reach your audience. This ad is not endorsed by Kit. This is a personal recommendation of David Andrew Wiebe. If you purchase through his affiliate link, you will receive a commission at no cost to you. This show is supported by its listeners and viewers. Thank you for your support. So we've completed day one of Music Pro. Really got to hand it to the organizers. I don't know if there's volunteers, if there's staff, if there's paid people involved, or if it's all just volunteers or mix, or some of the MI staff agreed to help out at this event. So I'm not sure. And the reason that would be significant at all is because it seems like this is the quality you would expect from people who are properly being compensated, or at least receiving something to do their work right. So that's a compliment to what everything that's been happening at Music Pro 26 so far. A1, I've enjoyed myself. I'm still a little bit sick. Went out to eat some Korean food after the fact. Don't worry, I'm not upchucking. You know, even to make that reference is a little bit questionable here, but I did feel a little bit sick afterwards. So it was technically delicious, or at least I think it was, but it's on the other hand very hard to tell because I feel sick almost immediately afterwards. So I have been largely keeping to kind of a liquid diet. I'm not eating a lot. I'm eating about a meal per day. And this has been some kind of bug. I want to say it's some kind of bug, but so at the conference, I feel like I set the groundwork for some good conversations tomorrow. Today, I certainly captured some B-roll. I captured a couple of interviews. I think that's a reasonably good start. And because I was kind of told to go with the flow going in, even though part of me is like, man, I should just capture as many interviews with as many people, as many conversations, get as much content as I possibly can out of this experience. The other part of me goes like, you know what though? Go with the flow, really. The conversations that happen, that need to happen, will absolutely happen. Honestly, there's some people that if I didn't track them down right then and there and grab them by the arm and ask them for a conversation, it's not going to happen. But realistically, there are multiple sessions happening simultaneously with different presenters, so it's not like I can grab the arm of all those presenters anyway. So at the end of the day, I would love to have conversations with all. That's just not going to happen. So I'm thinking I've set reasonably good groundwork for tomorrow and the day after. Follow up with those, and then anything on top of that, maybe it's just icing on the cake. Maybe. But I'm aspiring to more than. Today I had 2, and I guess that's the point. It's like 2 is pretty good. I think I was anticipating maybe pulling off a couple more. Would love to see 4 in a day. But on the other hand, I think I want to be okay with that not necessarily happening, because it may not necessarily happen, as it were. But it's been good. I've enjoyed the sessions. Here's the weird thing, right? Like, we watch things online and often feel like, oh yeah, like I've heard this before, I know this, or there's nothing to be gained from actually going into somewhere like MI and classroom or session brings them learning something. No. There's just something different about the live experience. There's something different about the camaraderie, the experiences shared, the passion shared, especially among musicians. I don't mean to say just musicians, because that's not my intention, but like, if you're at a creative conference, you would connect with the creatives. There's a special bond between the type of artist you are. And musicians have a bond with other musicians or other music business people or other industry people, people who generally talk about music or
are involved in the law and music in some way, or in the charts, whatever it might be, management, whatever it might be, there is kind of a special bond there among the people who experience it, live in it, make an income from it, treat it as a passion or a hobby or whatever their end goal might be. Steve Vai, it's great. Steve is one of those people who invests in personal development and treats it with the value it deserves to be treated with. He doesn't come out right out and talk about books or personalities. He's talking about what he has learned. That's powerful. And who knew it could just be framed that way, right? It's an interesting thought exercise here in the music business, at least, that you could talk about marketing without saying the term marketing. You can talk about entrepreneurship without saying the term entrepreneurship. You can talk about personal development, or what you've learned from it at least, without talking about or mentioning the term personal development. I also only made it to 2 sessions today, but my buddy Justin Longo did show up for an interview. That was fun. I'm glad he came. I'm glad I got to meet him in person. I'm glad we got to have a conversation. Then I did manage to catch the session with Mike Fink and DistroKid. And I think what he did there was really good. Like, he brought in 3 younger female successful or reasonably mid-tier successful artists. I don't even know what mid-tier is, but I guess the definition might be someone who's got 60 to 70,000 followers on Spotify, or streams per month or Spotify, not sure which one. But people in that kind of category who are actively building fan bases and touring and performing live and promoting their music actively, and are doing reasonably well for themselves. So that was the panel, and I thought that was good, and a good way to approach a session without necessarily having to create a whole lot of content. Okay, so I did make it to 3 sessions, yeah, because the third one, or actually I think it was the second one that I made it to, was with Mitch Glazier. I did manage to capture an interview with him as well. So that was really cool. That one was about AI, and I think him and I kind of see more or less eye to eye on the issue that AI isn't the exact threat that people perceive it to be, but there are things to be worked out for sure in numerous areas, but one of them being copyright. I'm personally heartened to hear that. And it's not just in music. I've noticed in self-publishing, I've noticed it on YouTube. The trend is towards not allowing the monetization of AI-generated content. And it's either a thing of you have to disclose which parts of your video or song or book have been modified or created by use of AI, or it's a thing of you cannot claim copyright over something that was AI generated in its entirety. And I honestly think that's the way it should be, because you can't really claim yourself, as far as I'm concerned. I know some people will be offended. You can't claim yourself as an instant creator because you used AI to generate a book. It just doesn't work that way. You prompted it, you asked for certain things, it gave it to you. It's just a fancy text generator. It doesn't know your story unless you gave it your story. But even then, can you trust it to tell it in a way that's as passionate, as impactful, as full of energy as you're going to be? And I think that's honestly one of the points that Steve Vai was making as well. And other than that, it was a lot of kind of hanging out outside. I had another friend show up at the event. I hung out with her for a while, so it was one of those things where we kind of a whirlwind. I did not make it to some of the stuff later in the night with the networking. I honestly don't know how many people actually went to that. Maybe a good chunk, but definitely not everyone. And an after party of sorts. So I didn't really make it out to those. But being that I feel a bit sick, being that I just got in yesterday, and didn't sleep that well last night, and I'm a little bit tired. Maybe I don't look too tired or even sound too tired, but I'm kind of there. So it's time to wind down for another night and prepare for another day. Did it feel like work? Maybe not too much, but a little bit, because again, I'm not feeling my best. But I think if I was feeling my best, I would enjoy this more. I know that I enjoyed myself at DIY Musician Conference a lot. It's possible that my perspective has changed on travel. Like, I am very frequently sanguine about exploration, walking a city, trying different foods, happy-go-lucky, and just really generally feeling great about that. And although California is a kind of a familiar theme in my life, it's not like I come here every year, but this year twice already. There's a certain amount of familiarity with where I am, even though Hollywood's not a place I've been until now. There's still a certain degree of familiarity with the locale, having been to California and LA and San Diego and all along the coast. Good chunk of the coast anyway. And at the same time, maybe that sense of novelty and dopamine hits doesn't have to be part of every journey either. And necessarily having that expectation is always useful. Or I've just hit a different phase in my life. That could also be it. There's nothing wrong with this phase. And it certainly does not mean I'm not enjoying myself.
What if music was gamified? What if you could earn an income from your predictions? Well, we finally made it to the interview series for Music Pro 26. In this series, you may see my personality coming out a little bit more. I'm really letting it fly. This may be foreign to you. I thought I would let you know in advance in case you're going, something doesn't totally add up here. But with that, let's get to my interview with Justin Longo. Well, it's David Andrew Wiebe here with Justin Longo at the Musicians Institute, specifically at the Music Pro 26 conference. Justin, it's been a while. Not only that, but we actually haven't met in person. This is the first time. So how you doing?
Good. I'm doing well. You're taller in person. I will say
taller. I've been told that before. Taller and thinner and better looking. No, I give myself too much credit there probably. So Justin, certainly want to catch up with you on Marination. I know that's your main project, and it's actually been a little while since we talked. And so I also know things have evolved a bit in that space. So what's happening?
So originally we were a investment platform where you could invest into artists. We've pivoted to a prediction market similar to how Kalshi and Polymarket are. Now we are specifically geared towards predicting music events. We're a skill-based music prediction market is what we are right now.
Skill-based music prediction market.
Correct.
So what does that look like in practice compared to?
So essentially it is an event. So take an artist or a show or whatever it is, and you can predict on the outcome. So for example, a big music event was the halftime show with Bad Bunny. You know, Kalshi and Polymarket covered what song is he going to play first and all the like. Okay. We're more skill-based where it's raw numbers and streams and data, so that you have to do a little research and kind of know music knowledge in order to make this prediction. You obviously could take an educated guess, but, you know, we're more skill-based rather than just chance and luck.
Okay. So it's kind of like making educated guesses in a way. I hate to use the term gambling, but I would say you've gamified investing in music.
That's a great way to say it, yes.
Wow. That's really interesting. And so how are the users finding this? Are they enjoying?
Yes. So currently we haven't launched yet. We have about 200 people on our wait list, which is exciting. It seems like this is a really interesting thing that people are, inclined to do. The thing that we're really focused on is helping artists make supplemental income while they're growing their careers too. You know, they know a lot about music, music theory, and all the different things that artists need to do in order to, promote their music. So using that knowledge to place an educated prediction, we'll call it, or bet, to make it easier to understand, that would allow people to, be more successful with this.
I know you've had to retool your app a number of times, and it sounds like it's currently in development as well. But how many times has it now been making those pivots in your business?
It's been probably, I started out selling emails. I was scraping emails on Instagram for artists and all that. You know how you can look on their bio and click the email. We scraped emails, sold those to producers. That didn't go so great. We gave a lot of emails away for free, which is
love
nice.
the entrepreneurial spirit of it. I do.
So that was one. The next one was this kind of crowdfunding platform for early stage artists. That didn't go so great. We kind of illegally invested people's money in the stock market for them. That did well. Everybody got a return on that, but we weren't licensed to do that. Just keep that between you and me.
Yeah.
That we pivoted from that. And now we're at this intersection of music prediction and gamification.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So 4 or 5 iterations.
You've gone through a few different things there. And look, I love the enterprising spirit of it all. I know some people are going to be like, well, that sounds shady or unethical. But
yeah,
I would say, look, even Dan Kennedy, who's I would consider a mentor at a distance, he would say, I can profit from my email list or my list either way. Mm-hmm. One, I can send them emails and products. And for those who unsubscribe, I can sell their emails. or contact information. So, and it's just, Dan's really hilarious that way. But is it fair to say, it was kind of my impression, but it could totally be wrong, that this was something that you kind of originally thought about or got started in the pandemic because of the popularity of things like Robinhood and investing and things to come, of course, crypto investing and whatnot?
Yeah, that's a great memory. We did start in 2020. I was producing music. I produced music for a number of years, and I was really financially stretched at that time because I'm an all or nothing, like burn the boats type of mentality. I think you can have success either way, right? Sarah Blakely worked a sales job until she made Spanx into $1 billion company. Elon Musk slept on a couch and ate hot dogs, So there's these two different beliefs about, going for your goal and dream in life. But anyway, I burned the boats, was a music producer for a couple of years in San Diego, California. And I was very stretched financially and it was weighing on me. And I was trying to come up with different ways to financially support myself and also, maybe create a business out of this to help other people so that, they don't have to go through, these things. Obviously you won't be able to eliminate it totally, but, we can create some additional revenue streams to help. And that's what the original goal of Marination is and has always been.
Yeah, of course. And, it's people being given that opportunity is a huge thing because income diversification and people always want to be able to create different income streams. But what you said about entrepreneurship is really interesting. And so like one of those phrases that frequently gets thrown around, right, is do whatever it takes. Mm-hmm. And so you obviously came to that moment and you had a decision to make in terms of whatever it takes meant to you. But what are your thoughts on that whole culture of having to make those difficult decisions?
Look, I think that this is, a lot of artists and musicians will see this, and it is okay to have a job, a part-time gig or a full-time gig in order to support yourself. If you live in a major music city, which is Nashville, Los Angeles, New York City, they're very expensive to live in, especially New York City and Los Angeles. Yeah. So it's okay to have a job, a part-time income stream or whatever it is to support yourself financially. And it's necessary because at the early stages, it's really difficult for artists to make substantial money, especially with streaming nowadays, making 0.0034 cents per stream. So my thoughts are, I've worked part-time jobs in order to support myself for this dream and this goal. And I think it's okay for other people to do that. You know, you need to take care of your cost of living, right? We need to eat and have shelter and water, right?
Yeah.
And then everything else, we're going for the goal and the long-term vision.
Yeah. This is going to sound strange to some of you, but we've all got bills. Even I've got bills. It's hard to believe. David Andrew Wiebe never talks about bills. I mean, come on. We've all got expenses, right? Cost of living and food and all that kind of stuff. And as you said, you know, Vancouver's not a whole lot cheaper either, by the way. You know, Los Angeles being, you know, kind of comparable nowadays. Might be a little pricier here, but we are, you know, there is a bit of a discrepancy between US dollars and Canadian dollars, only by a multiple of about 1,000. I joke. It's not that much. But otherwise, how are things coming along then? What are you looking forward to here in 2026?
It's coming along really well. We're using all of these pivots and these iterations to learn along the way, right? And now I'm at this intersection where I'm using all this knowledge that I've accumulated from these different failures and iterations. And one of the things that I failed to do or focus mainly on is marketing and advertising. I think there's two sides to success in this. It's a product. So this is how I look at it. I look at everything as a business context. So artists and producers and musicians, they're a business if they want to have a career and all that. Your product is the song. And then the other side of it is getting people to look at the song. A very simple first principles way of looking at it. So I focus mainly on the product, right, in these different iterations and failed to do a large marketing initiative. TikTok, Reels, videos, content, volume, that's like my main focus, or in addition to the product. So make a great product and get people to watch it, get people to use it, get people to listen to it, share it. That's the main focus, what I'm looking at this year.
I think Andrew Dubber said, and I don't know how much it applies as it used to, but it certainly was the case, hear, like, buy. If people don't hear it, they're not going to have a chance to like it. If they don't like it, they're not going to have a chance to buy it, or they're just not going to buy it because they don't like it. Nowadays, for musicians, I don't think the song alone is the product. The message, the relationship, the community, the tribe that you belong to, the ways in which you become a tastemaker to bring people into cool venues or lounges or places that you've never been to, like other people have never been to before. So introducing your audience to stuff like that, that to me is the real currency of a musician. If people are worried about AI, I'm telling you, that's where it's at. You got to sell relationship, sell community, sell your message, because that's what people are going to gather around. And be sure to organize your activity around those 3-4 pillars.
It's a great point, and you brought up AI, and innovation has its pros and cons, right? And regardless of AI and technology, there's a lot of saturation in the market for music, right? And how you break out of the noise is you do these principles and things that have worked in the past and will always work regardless of technology, which is cultivate a loyal, true fan base, right? 1,000 true fans, Kevin Kelly.
Yep.
You can go read that little plug for him in his blog or article. Cultivate a loyal audience, produce and put out a lot of volume. Like I'm telling you about content, we're going to do a lot of volume because it's a numbers game. The more darts you throw at the board, the more likelihood you get a bullseye. You know, loyal fan base, a lot of volume, a lot of songs, a lot of content, and then the rest is just continuing to do that. And with volume, you get better as an artist and making music, and you get better as a marketer. And you know, the leverage in the music industry is content and followers, and it's eyeballs, right? Because labels want to see people who have a following, they want to see people who have an audience, and then they can infuse some capital in them, and then on they go.
And this is good because I wanted to touch base on this as well. Like since the last time we talked, AI has emerged as a predominant technology. So I guess that's how long it's been since we last talked, basically.
Yeah.
But how has that changed your mindset or your approach to what you're doing now? Because you said content, and I know producing it at scale, there's certain efficiencies with AI, I would say. It's not like it's an expert at producing the best quality content for your business, but you can definitely gain efficiencies, whether it's transcripts or turning those transcripts into summaries and Facebook posts and posts for Twitter or X nowadays. So where have you landed on this?
So currently we are using AI to create some content. Obviously, it's not, you can distinguish between real and fake, I think, nowadays.
Yeah.
It's probably going to get to the point where you can't in maybe a year or so. It's coming very fast.
It might.
So the way I see AI is we've posted a lot of things. We've grown our TikTok to have a pretty good following now. And we just started that last year. And I've seen a lot of comments about people saying, you know, AI is bad and it's evil and all of this thing, the music industry should be this way and it shouldn't be this way. You have to adapt to the current landscapes. You have to adapt to the current climate of the world, of how these technologies are progressing. Just because you want things to go back to selling CDs out of your trunk and stuff, it's not going to be like that. Or people paying for music.
Yeah.
People will never pay for music ever again. They'll find a way through piracy, or now it's completely legal to get free music on these streaming platforms. Now, the thing that would benefit and behoove people is to look at these technologies to enhance their own career instead of fighting against them as competitors. Use AI to create song lyrics like in a second, you know, to draft ideas and be a collaborator. Use AI to help you with producing and mixing and mastering and all of that. There's tons of technologies being developed on mastering a complete song very fast. So use AI as a catalyst to your career instead of a competitor. Use it as a collaborator instead of, you know, trying to combat it or change the way it is, because the AI companies, they're billions and trillions of dollars worth of, you know, now, and they have the smartest people in the entire world working on these, and they're backed by huge institutions, so they're not going anywhere.
Definitely. And Steve Vai said in an earlier session, how is AI going to be your servant? And that should certainly be your focus. However you conceive of it or however you frame it is going to enter your reality. So if you say worlds are going to be catastrophic because of AI, your world will be catastrophic because of AI, because you're manifesting it and you're constantly creating it through your thoughts and your actions and your behaviors and everything else. I'm not a whistleblower. I happen to work in prompt engineering and media, AI generated media, specifically images, pictures, and videos. My opinion, and this is just independent research, it has nothing to do ultimately with my work, but in my opinion, LLMs have not gotten better in 2 years, to be honest. We've had tack-ons, we've had little features. ChatGPT can now generate images, yay! And we are still so far from kind of the fear aspect of it. The news loves, because their business is getting headlines clicked and viewed. That's their business. So media is super intent on convincing you of AI doom. And that's one thing you want to try to move away from, in my opinion, because it's not accurate. And you're going to hear about job layoffs. I'm telling you, probably within 2 or 3 years, most of those people are going to be hired right back, because these AI tech guys are coming in and saying, we can install an AI system and run your company. And it turns out they don't have a clue how to run the system, nor does anybody else in the company. And all it's doing is sucking up their budget. So this is real. This is happening, people. I'll also add to your point, I think there's one way to sell music, and it's not selling music, weirdly. It's selling bundles. This still works. But it's about creating something of value or something of perceived value by your audience. What would they like? And if you include your CD in there, it just looks like a value add. It's a value stack, right?
Absolutely.
You know? And
an add-on.
You get the physical CD, you get the digital download, you get the remix. You know, you can keep stacking the value and people will buy that.
It's a good way to collaborate and mesh the two of them, I think.
Yeah.
Digital and physical.
And this is where sometimes at conferences like these, I'm just shaking my head, but like sometimes at conferences like these, people say entrepreneurship and music is impractical for musicians. And I say a value stack could totally apply to a musician.
Yeah.
The Dream 100 concept of like finding 100 people who have access to your audience and then making relationships with them and getting shout outs from them is totally relevant. So I don't understand where the disconnect is. Maybe I'm brilliant and they're stupid. I don't know.
I'm on the I agree with that. Jay-Z said, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman."
There we go.
And if you're a musician, independent artist, you're signed to a label, whatever it is, you are a business. Mm-hmm. You make revenue, you have investors if you're with a label, and you have to look at your career as a business because you're a 1099 independent contractor. Like, you're classified as that. And you do all the things that businesses do. You have a product, you have marketing, you need to sell that product, you need to cultivate your customers, which is your fans. It's all related. And it is necessary for artists and musicians to have, obviously, people who understand the music business side of things, but you also need to understand that too when you're talking about like contract negotiations and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's just a benefit to you to know business in music or know business in general, because as you know, in the music industry, way back when, I don't know, may happen less now, but labels take advantage of people, management takes advantage of people. And if you understood that or got a third party lawyer to look over your contract and knew about the mentality about how you need to go through these things, you probably would avoid a lot of these traps.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And MI here's got apparently program on music business, which is great. I haven't seen it. I don't know how good it is, but I imagine it's Musicians Institute. After all, I would say they probably have pretty good perspective on what's going on out there. Sometimes it's probably just the framing that turns musicians off. Mm-hmm. You could call it business. You could call it entrepreneurship. You could call it marketing. I don't know, maybe just find a term that makes you feel comfortable about it. But we're basically talking about the same thing at the end of the day. Because I said earlier, sell relationship, that might turn some people off too. But you want to start shaking hands with these ideas. Again, frame them how you will, but it is about relationship. Mm-hmm. Music business is a people business. Every business is a people business at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you and me are going to be sitting on the big stage one of these days instead of this little cloth.
I don't know what we're doing here. Just tell me.
We'll be on the main stage because this conversation, I'm sure they have some good speakers, but this would be incredible for other people to hear that, whether they agree with what we're saying or not.
I think so. I just haven't gotten my doom, guys. Like, I don't know what the visibility issue is here. Let's just put it like it is. Award-winning entrepreneur, award-winning composer, award-winning author, and best-selling author. I got all of the stuff, a lot of the stuff that some of these people here don't even have. Steve Vai, sure, he's a Grammy Award winner and all that kind of stuff. But I've been told I'm a pretty decent interviewer and have been doing this for quite a while.
Yeah. We got to be undeniable, right?
Undeniable.
So good they can't say no.
And visible. Well, nobody can say we haven't been visible today because we negotiated our way into this room.
Made it happen.
We made it happen.
That's all that counts. We made lemonade out of lemons.
We sure did. Well, what do you think? Should we go and check out some more of the conference?
Sure.
This has been great, Justin. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you coming out. I know you only have a couple of hours here today, but I'm glad you came out so we could do this.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to meet you, Dave.
Great to meet you. Music Pro 2026. It's David here, and look who I managed to wrangle. It's Mitch Glazier. Paint us a picture of who you are.
So I'm the CEO of the Recording Industry Association. We represent the major record labels in Washington, and we work with a community of folks that represent different parts of the music industry. So American Association of Independent Music represents the independent record companies, and, you know, Artists' Rights Alliance and other groups represent the artists, and the Music Publishers Association represents the publishers. So we have a whole community of organizations that represent all the different pieces within the music.
And what was your presentation about this weekend?
So we had the small task of saying how AI is changing the music industry.
You're not going to be able to cover everything.
No, but the idea is to, especially in the law and policy, to sort of identify the major issues, like people's voice and likeness being taken by AI, or, you know, generative AI music services, and music, you know, how music generation in AI is working. So we gave people a lot of sort of raw numbers about how many songs are being generated, how they're being used, how they're being uploaded, and then kind of went over all the individual rights that are involved, and what the implications are for artists and for record companies.
And what would you say are the key takeaways and key pieces from that presentation?
So the first is really the idea of training people's music in order to generate, you know, a different output, and what rights are involved. There are a couple of major lawsuits where we are arguing that their copyrights have been infringed. You can't just take an artist's work and copy it without their permission. And the other side is that it's a fair use because, you know, they're transforming it into something else. So that's pending in the courts right now. Voice and likeness major issue, digital impersonation, where you're basically taking somebody's voice or their image and you're making them do something they didn't do or say something that they didn't say. Incredibly dangerous and disruptive for creators. Then the issue of, you know, whether or not you have to keep a log when you copy something. You know, are you allowed to not be transparent about what you're copying? And then final is, so can you own an AI work? Like if something's created through AI, you know, how human doesn't have to be to have ownership, right? So those are some of the big areas that we're following.
It's a big thing too, 'cause even in the self-publishing industry nowadays, if you have something AI generated in any capacity, if the book was edited by AI, if you're using AI artwork, you got to disclose this on Amazon now, which is either going to be a thing of, well, probably polarization. It's going to turn some people off, and it's going to make others say, well, I kind of want to check this out anyway to see what the whole thing's about, and considering it's art of another form.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
And the government wants to know, you know, when you do a registration for a copyright, they ask, was any of this made with AI? And if so, you have to disclose exactly what, because, you know, they don't want to give a copyright to a machine.
Yeah, makes so much sense. And so do you have any personal sense, I kind of understand the broader picture, but do you have any personal sense of the existential crisis or threat that AI represents? Do you ever have a different view?
I have a different view. I actually think that there are a lot of opportunities in AI for artists, for record companies, for music publishers, for songwriters. I think that, you know, it all depends on whether or not you end up with partnerships, like what happened in the streaming economy, where, you know, it started out with services that were just kind of distributing music and saying, we don't have to pay for it. And that kind of morphed into these incredibly sophisticated partnerships that have the best fan engagement that we've ever seen. Yeah. And so I think AI, you know, poses so many opportunities for both creative tools and for, you know, generative AI that the artist is in control of or participates in, that I wouldn't say that it is something that, you know, that we should be necessarily scared of, but it is something that we have to put guardrails around to make sure that it's done correctly.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Steve Vai kind of put it brilliantly this morning. He said, how is it going to be your servant? Don't become its servant. Right. How is it going to be your servant?
And frankly, the people who learn to use AI the best, and that includes creators, right, are going to probably be able to take advantage of the most opportunities that AI has to offer. So it's an evolution. And one great thing about the music industry is it has been the most adaptive industry in American history. I mean, what other industry has gone from like wax cylinders, you know, to vinyl, to cassettes, to CDs, to streaming, to AI? I think downloads was in there somewhere. So, you know, this is an industry that's used to adapting. And on the tool side too, I mean, synthesizers were this incredible tool. Auto-tune for all of its controversies, right? People have learned how to incorporate technology into music making for, 150 years in this country. So I don't think that AI is something that we need to necessarily fear, but we do have to fear sort of early companies that want to take advantage and and instead of partnering with creatives, they want a quick buck, they want a quick IPO, and they don't care what damage they leave in their wake. And that's what we have to avoid.
Makes sense. And even some creators are using it for theme songs, which arguably doesn't take away from opportunities for other artists to create theme songs for those creators, right? But I would like to run this by you and see what you think about it. I don't know if it's ever been about the song, and I think that's why it's not a threat. It's been about the message.
Yes.
It's been about relationship. It's been about community, and it's been about taste making, like bringing your audience out to a cool bar that they would never otherwise experience. So a musician is selling, people don't like that word always, but that's what they're selling. They're selling kind of those 4 or 5 pillars rather than the song. What do you think?
Well, I think it depends on whether or not you wrote the song.
Of course.
And so, if you didn't write the song, that might be a little bit more true. But something about that song made you record it or want to do it in the first place, right? And the only way that it worked is because it connected with you. And the only way it's going to work with fans is because you performing it connects with them. So it is always about the song in an underlying sense, because without that connection, without that authenticity, I don't think anybody's going to welcome what you have to do. And so if selling is connecting, or connecting is necessary for selling, I think that the song has to connect to you and to the audience the way that you perform it, even if you didn't write it.
Right. Those are some important caveats. I'm going to incorporate those into my future phrasing for sure. But yes, I would not discard whatsoever that the song, the intention behind it, and the passion and the emotion behind it matter. And I think that's part of what I conceive as being or see as being message. What is the message people are rallying around as a tribe and in a community? And there's different things, not just musical styles, but lyrics, obviously, usually the major portion of it that people relate to. And that's the key part in creating that tribe, that community around you.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that, we will, whether it's AI or any other technology, fans demand authenticity.
Yeah.
And so there's, AI can be part of helping to get your expression out there. And in that case, it's enabling authenticity. But if it's just generated by a couple of prompts and it uses every pattern that's ever been used and repeats them, fans aren't stupid. They get it.
No.
And there can be what we call an authenticity backlash. So at the end of the day, I think, we have to secure our legal rights.
Yeah.
But beyond that, fans are in control, and they always will be, and that's a good thing.
Definitely. What's the artist model for 2026? What can artists do to make the most of this new technology, new opportunity?
I think exploring some of the good creative tools that are out there that they may not have used yet, right? Play with them, know what's going on. There are lots of licensed creative tools that are out there that use AI that I think can be very helpful. And even if you're not going to use them, just to kind of get a feeling of what the landscape is and what other people are using. It may be right for you, it may not be right for you. So I think that that's important. I also think there's, everything old is still true. There's nothing like live experience. I mean, that's where you're going to get your chops. That's where you're going to understand how audiences are reacting. That's going to help you hone your craft. There's nothing like getting out there and doing it over and over and over again.
Well, yeah, live is where everything I just mentioned is typically going to happen. Relationship, of course, that's never scalable. There's a point at which if you have thousands of people coming to your show, you can't shake hands and meet everyone. But when you're first getting started, it's like, you got to have a personal relationship with that audience, and they're going to keep showing up because of that relationship. And then community can build from there. And then
that's right. And you have to be true to yourself and your art. And if AI is helping you to do that, great. But if it's not,
Well,
problem.
exactly. The main thing that I see, especially as a writer, content creator, music producer, I've done all sorts of creative projects and continue to, is not have it take over my brain, not have it be my second brain, not have it be my outsourced brain. If I'm using it that way, that I'm not creating my life and I'm not being an active participant in it. So I will always want to think things through. Maybe sometimes AI helps me think things through, but as much as possible, it's like, how can I go inside of me to find the answer?
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned this in our discussion, but I like the way that Hypebot put it after their survey, which is like, let AI do the math, but only the human can do the magic.
Well, okay, so I'm laughing because AI doesn't do math that well, or at least it doesn't do it as well as most people.
Efficiency. It can help with efficiency.
Absolutely. If anybody out there is doing their accounting with AI, please double check.
Don't do your taxes.
Yeah, please double check it. Could get you into some trouble.
Sponsored by CPA.
Yeah. Some companies like to cook their books. Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit too controversial there.
Thanks for having me on.
Mitch, thank you so much.
What a pleasure.
All right.
See you.
See ya. Tired. Very tired. Human. Very human. Maybe too human. Starting to sound a bit like poetry or maybe a video essay or beginning of a horror movie or something like that. No, this is how I'm concluding day 2 of Music Pro 26. There's nothing wrong with it. And there's some things that were not completely thought through. And one of those things was my participation at this event. Despite the fact that I'm not exactly here as just another attendee, the treatment is so similar that it's not easy for others not to mistake it as such. So I have suggestions, I have some ideas, and I'm going to share them with the organizers. It's not to discourage them, certainly. It's to hopefully give them some ideas and suggestions that they can use in the future if they're planning to have someone like me come back and to be part of the event in the way that I have been. But some challenges that go along with the fact that I can't possibly meet everybody and I can't possibly be at every session, and not everybody I talk to wants to be interviewed. That's just the bottom line. My average now is 2 per day. So I've been interviewing 2 people per day. That's cool. I don't have any problem with that. I think it'd be exciting and fun to maybe do more interviews. Yet if I had, apparently I would have exceeded my phone storage limit. Would have had to run back here to the hotel, offload some media, and that could have been a disaster as far as capturing some of the interviews I did today. One with my friend Sunavana and the other with Tiamo De Vettori. I think we had some fun conversations there. I think we had some really useful conversations there. So it would have been a shame to see that content not make it. Paul Reed Smith was at the conference today. That was fantastic. Tim Pierce was also there. That was fun. There were some others. Paul Reed Smith was kind of opening up our minds about music and thinking differently about it. And he himself was really not a bad guitar player. He's quite good, actually. Of course, Tim Pierce is fantastic, too. One of the other sessions that I managed to make it to, Tiamo's about keynote concerts. Ooh, I don't know. This one hit me as a possible, this could be my purpose. This could be my thing, maybe. Combining speaking and sharing my music and sharing my story and my moments of authenticity and vulnerability. Yeah, I don't know. It's hitting pretty close to what I think I want to do or where I want to be. I think it's also flexible enough that if I wanted to do some other things on top of it, could totally do that. It does seem to offer good leverage as well. Anyway, here we are. Got to wind down again for another day, and hopefully, I slept better last night before, but I'm more tired today, so go figure. But hopefully, get another good night's rest, or even better night's rest. Have a great Sunday. Music Pro 26. It's David here. Really been blessed this weekend to be joined by a couple of friends. There's been a couple of surprises. One of my local friends, Justin, showed up yesterday and I got a chance to interview him. But here's Sunavana, all the way from 7 hours away, California. I don't know where that is and don't know if we're going to get into that. But Sunavana's here. Really blessed to be joined by her. How are you?
Hi, David. How are you?
Oh,
this is
good.
exciting.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're in one of the lessons rooms, and so it's kind of tight in here, but it's actually pretty cool. There's a few amps on the side, as you would expect, and anybody who has not visited MI would certainly be interested to know that kind of stuff. It really just looks like a practice room is what it looks like. There's a computer available, I'm sure, for looking up songs and trying things out. But Sunavana, what have you been up to?
Oh my goodness. This has been an adventure, David. I've been having so much fun. So my whole thing is, like you said, I'm about 7 hours away. So I'm over there in the Tahoe, Sacramento area is how I say it. And I just did this on the spur of the moment. And so that was really exciting. And that's kind of how I do things is I like to be spontaneous planning. I like to plan it ahead of time so I'm organized and I know what I'm doing. And then from there, be spontaneous. And so coming down to LA, meeting you for the first time, I've known you for almost a year or 2 years, something like that.
Yeah, probably 2 years.
Yeah, running around with different people on online. And so it's interesting to meet people in person and stuff. And so that has been fun.
That's good to hear. Well, I mean, that would have been quite the adventure. I mean, I took a flight down here from Vancouver. It's only 3 hours, but it's pretty crazy to think that within the state of California, you could drive 7 hours. It's a big state from what I gather.
Oh, yeah. And there's so much to do in California.
Yeah.
It depends if you want it to be like a sunny California or if you want the rain or if you want the big trees or the city lights, everything. We have it all.
And the proximity to everything from MI is pretty amazing too. The Musicians Institute, Hollywood Boulevard is just over there. You can walk to it. And I mean, I walked from Motel 6. It's like an 8-minute walk. And there's so much to see on Hollywood Boulevard. People think that you have to go looking for the stars on the street, and they're just right there. All you have to do is go onto Hollywood Boulevard, and there's restaurants, there's cafes, there's everything you would expect. All kinds of catch sort of stores, places where you can buy funny trinkets and stuff. So what sort of creative things have you been up to lately? Have you been growing your Facebook group? Have you been doing some live streaming?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've been having fun over in Facebook under Sunavana Grace. You can find me. I also am under Shine TV. And I have my host, Andrew. And so we've been having fun with that. And recently we did a sacred throne and secret throne. And so those were different terminologies. And the sacred throne is for couples and such and partners or singles that want to be coupled in the future. And it was talking about relationship dynamics. And then the secret throne room was more for the kings behind the royal curtain. And so that gets into the man mindset because I work with men and women and I call them kings and queens, finding their royal divine birthright. So it's that whole part of royalty. So I've been saying, think royal, be royal. And I'm going to get merch that does, that's royal. So it's going to be like an adjective these days. So I'm having a lot of fun with it, David.
That's awesome. I know Andrew, and if possible, insert clip here.
Have you lost your balls? Serious question.
Because he's pretty funny, and he's been in Spark Infinity, and I've been on his show as well. I can't remember what his group was off the top of my head, but
Extraordinary Men.
there it is.
Yeah.
Extraordinary Men. How has it been working with him?
Oh, he's fun. He's a hoot. Oh my goodness. That was one of the things that I liked about him. I like I said, in the group, I met him and different people, through the different online groups and stuff that I have run with. And he's known for his red suit, guys. And I think that is so fun. And that's what I like about him is he's almost like a character, like, his personality. He's very entertaining and he's really down to earth and he's really fun and he's just really authentic and he's a great co-host. So I've been having a lot of fun with him.
Yeah, great to hear. Like, this is a little bit of inside baseball here, but like trying to get Zoom set up to live stream on Facebook is a bit of a pain, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so what I saw Andrew do was, like, he was obviously used to or had gained practice with this already, but it's sort of hard to tell when you're actually going live. You press the live button and you think it's like there's a delay and you don't know if you're live or not if you look within the producer studio, but you are.
Right.
So how Andrew handled that was he just started dancing and singing.
That's so Andrew.
In the first 5 seconds or so, and then welcome everybody to.
Yeah, you got to have the entertainment piece to it. That's what I'm saying. I love that we're in LA, Hollywood, because right now we're being stars, and we're learning how to like become ourselves. And so this is a perfect environment for that.
Yeah, I like that. And so in the dating world or in the love and relationships world, what are some things that you typically notice that are, big challenges for people? What are people trying to create these days?
I think the biggest thing is people are having a hard time believing in love, And so for me as a love and dating relationship coach, my first thing is I got to get them not even to talk about love, but to believe that they can love again. So many people have been burnt or hurt, or abandoned or rejected or whatever their thing is. And so to believe that they really have that, opportunity to love again is huge. And so once we hit that spot, and that goes into, like I said before, trauma triggers, that goes into heart triggers. My hair is a mess, you guys. I'm just like, this is it. This is take it or leave it. So I'm playing with my hair. Besides, I'm nervous. But the whole thing is it's heart triggers. And so talking about those intimate things that you've dealt with as a child that, you put under the carpet that you don't want to share and stuff like that. And once you start finding that, you can take those masks off and it's just you're layer by layer. And as you take the mask off and you find out who truly you are, then you can be that true royal king or queen and you can come out there and then your match will recognize you, because that's the big thing is a lot of times with the mask, we're playing a role because we have all this pain, David, and we're going through all this stuff. And so because of that, we don't even know who we are. How are we going to be able to connect with someone? Or worse, we're going to have a counterfeit king or queen because we are in this mask phase and they're in a mask phase. So we don't know who each other are. So the key to me is believing and taking off the mask, doing the hard work, going deep, wearing the crown, and then it will come naturally. They will recognize you, you will recognize them.
That's relatable for sure. Like you can be burned in a relationship, but you can also be burned by a business. You can be burned by your music career progression, whatever it is our creatives and artists viewership is experiencing out there. And it's about that thing of trusting again and having faith again. And it's so challenging to do sometimes, but it's exactly what's needed. How does one go through that process? It's a lot of internal work, right? Like journaling and maybe even counseling. What sort of things do people require at that stage of believing in you?
Okay, well, some of your viewers know this about me and some don't, but I actually left my abusive husband in the middle of the night with strangers. They were not strangers to me, but people I trusted. And that is part of my story. And so because of that, that is why you see this strong woman now, but I was never always there. And so when I went through my pain, I had to go through different layers. And one layer I actually went through is I talked to a grave. I couldn't meet him in person because he's unsafe. And so it was crazy. I was like in this graveyard at the time. And of all things, the name of the gravestone was called Stormy. And I was like, well, that's fitting. That fits the relationship of where it was. And at this point, there was no contact and I made those choices. And so I some people talk to a chair or whatever, but I talked to that grave and I said those things. And yes, there is journaling stuff, but it's a layering thing. And then believe it or not, David, the hardest thing to do, and it's so paramount for any kind of, growth to move on, is forgiveness. And so you got to forgive the person, but you also got to forgive yourself for being the person that attracted them to begin with. And so once you find those pieces, that's part of that layering, taking the mask off, and then you find who you really are underneath that mask. And then, like I said, naturally, the healing process starts happening. You start getting around the right people. You start attracting the right people. It's almost like they can see you finally because the mask is off and they can see that bright crown that you're wearing. Like I said, the royal divine birthright.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it too, because I think from what I know of or at least my kind of philosophical leaning in forgiveness is one of these things that's for you.
Exactly.
When you forgive others, that's happening for you. But like when you go to forgive someone else and tell them I forgive you, they may come back and say, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yes.
right? So that can end up being a passive aggressive thing. Honestly, that's why I cringe when I see it in the movies. I forgive you.
Right.
It's like,
So good.
that's really passive aggressive.
So good.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you're waiting for the other person to forgive you before you can truly forgive them, or vice versa, you're going to be waiting forever, because now you are in that limbo of having to wait for somebody else's choices. And maybe their choice is going to be different than yours, and you want to move on and they're still holding on, or vice versa. And so forgiveness has to be for you. I think they said it once. They said forgiveness is, unforgiving is like taking the poison of yourself, from someone else. And so it's the opposite. If you're forgiving, you're taking, the potion, of not getting poisoned. What is the word I'm trying? The remedy, basically, So, forgiveness is a remedy. I'm nervous. Forgiveness is a remedy.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
Another vital element in all this would be communication.
Yeah.
Right? And so sometimes it is kind of a known thing, although a vast generalization to say that women and men communicate differently. and it lands differently. Someone like me, I already know from having pretty vast self-awareness of myself that I could come across cold, but I'm not actually cold. I'm actually very kind. But it's about how it's said and the way in which it's said. What have you noticed about communication in relationships? And
Time. You said it beautifully. If a person's a different personality and you don't know it, a person can get assumptions, right? And we all know what that means. But when you have time and you spend time and the guards start coming down little by little and people start feeling more safe, then automatically they'll know those little intricacies of each other and be like, oh yeah, they're just being themselves and everything's fine. So it's all about time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so spending more time with a person and getting to know them and how they behave.
Definitely. Quality time. And I think the other big thing is that believing again. Because if you have quality time but you got all your walls up, that's not going to work, because you have to have your walls down and have quality time. So you have to be open. You have to be open.
The authentic part.
Exactly.
And that's probably the most challenging part, but as you say, if you go through that initial process of being ready, then you can get to a place of vulnerability and authenticity that allows another person to see who you are. But it feels and sounds so much like exposure.
Oh yeah.
That people very much fear this.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because like I always said, I didn't know it, but I was dating my father just in different men my entire life, because I came from that broken daddy girl place. And so that was a huge aha moment. And it wasn't until I became a life and love coach that I started seeing that toxic masculinity piece that has bled through my entire life. And like I say, in my circle of people, I say, we are not man haters around here. We love men, just not the toxic ones. But now I've even changed that, David. And I said, it's not that we love them, but, we can, pray for them, support them, encourage them from a distance for safety. But even the toxic ones, we're all toxic in some way. So it's like we have to find ourselves, take off the mask and be open to each other, but like I said, it's one of those things that men and women cannot hate each other. And it's like that's hating half the population. So it's not us versus them. So I hate that battle of sexes. I think that is probably one of the biggest lies that the community has been given, is to believe that it's us versus them. And you wonder why there's so much war.
Definitely. And I'm sure toxicity is one of those subjective experiences, like how you feel about the situation versus how someone else might feel about the situation. Like someone else might be perfectly fine with the person and their behavior, whereas you might be like, this is not going to work for me. But I mean, I guess
like my hair, you guys, it's not working.
This is maybe why there's 8 billion people on the planet. Like,
yeah.
I've heard it before that you can make it work with anyone, but the ideal is to find someone who does compliment you in ways that really make the relationship tenable and workable.
Oh, yeah. And it's a beautiful thing. When love works, David, it is the biggest gift out there. In fact, I will go so far as to say, I always say this. I say that love, Oh my goodness, I'm getting nervous again. True love is what will heal the world for those that believe. And the world is still believe because it's even that extreme. Because love is one of those things that if it feels right and it's with the right person, it will literally be everything about your life. I don't believe that a woman is complete with a man or a man is complete with a woman, but they do multiply. And it's like it multiplies in your work and business, your heart, your people, community, and the world.
Yeah. I think if you're a human being, there's a few things you're going to have a hard time getting away from. And one of them is the desire to be loved.
Exactly.
It could show up in different ways. It could be recognition. It could be validation. It could be affection. Different people experience love in different moments and in different ways. But you're definitely going to have a hard time trying to live without it. So.
Well, yeah. Can you imagine? I mean, it's like coexist. I mean, that's not even how it's created. We're created in love, in general, even if the worst situation is, that the way that a man and woman is made, they're made together. There has to be a man. There has to be a woman. It's just science.
Absolutely. Well, I really enjoyed this, Sunavana, and I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate you coming out to Music Pro 26 and to share about relationships, which is interesting. But, we're going to have other guests possibly sharing about filmmaking and other topics too. So
I can't wait.
It won't just be about music, but anything else you'd like to plug or share in closing?
Oh my goodness, this has been really fun. It's an adventure. And being from a woman perspective, you guys, you got to be safe when you travel, but traveling is so beautiful. And it's like you just got to get out there. You got to take those masks off, be yourself, and just let yourself shine.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy the process and do stay safe, as Sunavana said. It is, after all, we're in Hollywood and LA, and it's the big city, so best to be mindful and aware of your surroundings. All right. Well, stay safe, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Blessings from California.
Music Pro 26, it's David here. I've got another fantastic treat for you. It took convincing, cajoling. It took all kinds of work. I had to do the right favors for the right people. I'm totally kidding. Tiamo's been super gracious and accommodating. Tiamo De Vettori.
Yeah, thank you.
How you doing?
Great. Yeah.
So what was your session about at this conference?
My session today was about keynote concerts, where you combine live music with keynote speaking at conferences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool idea. And it was something that you came across at a point in your career where things weren't going exactly how you wanted them to go, right?
Yeah, I was actually struggling at the time, as a lot of performing songwriters are. And I just really felt like burned out on the bar scene and coffee shops, clubs, hotels, restaurants, all of that. And I felt like at the time there has to be something better than this.
Yeah.
Particularly because I have like a message and my songs are very lyrical, and it's like I didn't feel like people were hearing. And then I found the conference market really by attending conferences. But then I saw an incredible opportunity to be on those stages as a performer. And that's where things really shifted for me. And not only as a performer, but in delivering keynote presentations and taking on like a hybrid speaker, singer-songwriter modality.
And so, you made a decision there that I think a lot of other artists or bands might have said, hey, let's become a wedding band instead, or let's become a tribute band or a cover band or a corporate band. Certainly probably greater income than playing coffee houses, original music and stuff like that, but wouldn't be kind of even comparable to the kind of leap that you're talking about income-wise, right?
Yeah, because when you reposition it to where you're not getting booked as a musician at conferences, because that's still like maybe a few $100s. A lot of times you might be like background musician for the cocktail hour the night before, or even during the event as people are coming and leaving the conference, like that type of thing. So I saw what keynote speakers were doing, and that they were getting up and doing like an hour-long presentation and getting treated and booked and paid as the main keynote presenter. So I thought, instead of pitching myself as a musician, I would pitch myself as a keynote speaker who happened to have a musical talent. And from that, it's like I can say that the average keynote speaker makes $15,000 per conference, like, for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so I saw that and I was like, whoa, I could absolutely like do this keynote concert model where I still feel really fulfilled because I'm doing my music and I'm sharing my original music too, telling stories, but putting it in a keynote package. And that was definitely life-changing financially, because what I had to do before to make, let's say, 15,000 would be, so many gigs and hundreds of hours, like with studio time and like merch and album sales and all of that. And this was just so much easier and so much more rewarding.
Yeah. And you're kind of bringing double the value. Like you're speaking and you're playing music. A lot of keynote speakers can't necessarily claim to be able to do that or always be in the position to be able to bring that. Is that part of the value proposition?
It is, yeah, because it's a keynote that's so much more entertaining than a traditional keynote. And so for the conference to have a keynote speaker where you have the entertainment value, you also have the power of music to go along with it. And people are so much more engaged with the keynote and they get so much more out of it when they're entertained and they're moved and they're inspired. And then, of course, as performing artists, we do a lot better when the room is full.
Yeah.
Right? So as opposed to like empty rooms, that was happening a lot for me. Then I was now doing full rooms where there'd be hundreds, sometimes thousands of people in the audience, and I didn't have to do anything to get them there. So I really, really love that.
I think some people would be going, hold on. So keynote speaker, in many cases, isn't that a celebrity?
Well, you do get the celebrity treatment, so that is very different. But no, you don't have to be a celebrity to be speaker. Most keynote speakers are not celebrities.
Okay.
The celebrity keynote speakers are the ones that are making at least 100,000 per keynote, and many of them like $250,000 or $500,000. Some of them, if it's a high level celebrity, then they'll be making like $1 million. So most keynote speakers are not celebrities, but they have something important to share. They have a clear message. They have a topic. And so like, I just feel like anyone could get started with keynotes as long as you're open to learning the skill of presenting and speaking, which essentially is storytelling. So that may be less intimidating for people who are watching this of like, well, but I'm not a motivational speaker and I don't have that background. But the way I saw it was, well, hold on. As a performing songwriter, I tell stories all the time about my songs in coffee shops and stuff like that. And so I thought I could become a really good storyteller on a keynote stage, perform my songs, and that's been such a great fit.
You kind of answered my next question, because I'm sure that's like the next thing people would ask is, do I have to be like a super polished speaker? And I would guess you'd have to learn some skills, of course, but because that's not something that necessarily comes naturally to every artist or musician. Although I would argue, certainly there's usually banter, there's usually some storytelling. And so you're sort of developing soft skills that could translate into more expertise in that area.
Yeah, and I actually would say being a polished speaker isn't the goal either, because polished speakers can be pretty boring. And people don't want a polished keynote.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so, I don't really strive to be polished, but I know a lot of people think of it that way. Like, I'm not a seasoned, polished professional speaker. But it's more of like, if you think about like when you perform and sometimes you have some interaction with the audience, it's that interaction expanded, right? It's like, okay, well, but I'm going to say more. And so how do I go deeper into the stories, and how do I help the stories to correlate with the songs I'm going to play? Because the songs have to be related to the stories and what you're sharing. And it's more of like having a conversation with the audience, where it feels more intimate, even though there might be 1,000 people in the audience, but not so much like trying to nail it or memorize a speech or like all of that. But just having this, even like a studio quality, like we're hanging out and talking. And if you have that vibe and that feel, and you're not reaching for perfectionism, but you're more relatable to the audience, they love that way more than like a seasoned speaker.
I love that. That's really good to know. And so for you, it's been a proven model, but not just that, actually your students are also doing really great, following in your footsteps, booking their own keynote concerts, which gives credence to the entire model and how it works, right?
Yeah, because when I first did it, I was like, I don't think this is just a Tiamo thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think this is just me. Like, if I could teach other artists how to do this, it would benefit the artists because of the reasons I've given, but then it would benefit all the audiences. And so I really believe in the power of music and given the right atmosphere and environment, and the fact that at conferences, audiences listen to every note you play and sing. And so that's so powerful for artists. And it's in a format that I think is within reach for a lot of people. It may not be for everyone. If you're the artist that, you just want to like close your eyes and drift and play song after song and not open your eyes until the end of the set, like, it's probably not for you. But if you feel like, I can make eye contact with the audience and I can, like you talked about, some banter and like interaction and tell stories almost like a VH1 storyteller sort of vibe, right? And if you can do that, then you can have success with this. And to your point, like, that's what my students have done, where I've taught them the framework for how this works, like within a 1 hour keynote concert, how you put it together, how you craft it, how you deliver it. But they've been willing to learn the skills around it and then practice it. Like, practice it initially with their fans, with their friends, their family, maybe even doing an initial keynote concert with a warm audience to try it out and get all the feedback, and then take it to the keynote stage at conferences.
Another thing this opens up is the opportunity for diversified income streams, right? So give us a picture of what that looks like. 'Cause it's not just the fact that people might stream your music after the fact, which they might not. There's actually a multitude of other possibilities here.
Yeah. Well, you and I know there isn't really money in streaming unless we're talking about like millions and millions and millions of streams. And even then, that's questionable.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, income possibilities is the keynote concert itself, which you can, very realistically make thousands for that 1 hour. But then there's also other possibilities with album sales, where it's not so much like the audience members going out and buying your album, but the company buying the album for all the conference attendees. So then everyone in the audience is getting the album as a gift of appreciation. So then that's wonderful in regards to album sales. And then there's merch sales that, imagine you just done a keynote concert in front of 1,000 people. Now, and you're like the rock star in the room. Now you've got a merch table in the back or in the foyer, and you've got a line of people waiting to meet you and to buy your merch. So that's another possibility, as well as like custom songs that you could write and perform at the conference. And then there's like private concerts that you can do for their VIP guests. Since you're already there doing the keynote concert, then a few hours later, you could do a private concert for an exclusive group. There's also sync licensing possibilities in the conference world. So it's like, if you combine all of these things, you have a really nice financial package for these upgrade experiences that you're offering the audiences and the companies and schools and organizations. And so you're approaching this as an artist of like, wow, like, I could really see myself doing this as a career, where if I did one of these a month, like, I can make a great living with that.
Yeah. Another thing you pointed out was how this market is really set to like double in a pretty short amount, like more than double, really, the events and conferences.
Yeah.
And so that only expands the pool of opportunities, right?
Yeah, because the conference market makes $890 billion per year, which is in itself staggering. But then the projection is within the next 2 to 3 years to be around $2 trillion. So this is an industry that is just like, it's expanding all the time, as opposed to the music industry, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so it's wonderful to be in an industry where there's just like the abundance full of opportunities, that's, I wish every artist would pursue it.
As long as there's a value on human connection, and I can't really see that going away, this is probably going to be a viable thing and something that artists should certainly consider.
Yeah, as AI keeps becoming more and more omnipresent, the value of human connection is going to become so much greater.
Yeah.
So this has been around for decades, but this isn't going away. And I think it's going to become even bigger based on the projections, based on what AI is doing, and based on the importance of having real human connection experiences in the room. And so I just think this is, the timing is perfect right now. Also, before other artists start doing keynote concerts, this really is like ground level. Get in now, do this while there really isn't competition and it's wide open. Learn this craft now so that maybe a few months or 6 months or a year from now, you're out there delivering keynote concerts.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I am seriously considering this. I've been in a kind of a prolonged soul search phase, and I'm really glad that I sat in on your session and got to learn about this, because I'm going, this could be the right thing for me, and use my various skills to my advantage in a way that gets more leverage. I work in big tech. That's fine. I didn't plan to do that. The last 2 years, it's what I've been doing, and it's not going to be anywhere near the leverage that something like this could potentially offer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there a website or something people can go to learn more about this?
Yeah, they can go to thrivingmusician.com, and then there they can watch my free masterclass, which is a great first step. So that's thrivingmusician.com. And then if they want to see my own keynote concerts in action, you can go to tiamokeynoteconcerts.com, and then you can see what I've created there.
Amazing. Is there anything else we should have talked about? Anything else you'd like to touch on?
I like what we've covered, and I just think that, sometimes musicians like this idea, but they don't necessarily pursue it because they don't see themselves doing it. And my students have been there. It's very normal to feel like, well, I don't know that I see myself on the keynote stage. But start smaller. You can also start with smaller workshops and events. They don't have to be huge conventions. Okay. There's, like I started at local workshops where there'd be like 50 people there, that type of thing. And I gained confidence with that. And then I started doing, seminars where maybe there's like 100 people there. And then I'm working my way up to conferences. So, just know that initially, if you feel like it's intimidating, I understand. But take some first steps and really try it and embrace this. Because if you embrace it now, I feel like a few years from now, you'll be so happy that you did.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching. Music Pro 26. It's David here. Joining me right now.
I'm Linda Blaise.
Yeah, Linda Blaise. So
From Houston, Texas area.
All the way from Houston, Texas. How was that journey for you?
Well, it was interesting because right now we're having an issue with TSA. So I just arrived early. And I got here on time and I was very happy.
That's smart. How have you been enjoying the conference so far? What did you come here for?
Well, I came here for songwriting and business issues, more like how to promote myself, and also to learn more about the business in and of itself. And I feel like I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like I've learned quite a bit to give me a direction to where I can go back home and start planning and get going on my journey.
That's great. And so what sort of business aspects do you feel like you wanted to be able to cover and get into this weekend?
As far as copywriting is concerned, copywriting I already knew, but I didn't know about MCL and, and the different places you have to join, like CSAC. I already have, ASCAP, but having the other digital providers, that's how they make sure their digital money comes in. So I did make sure that I joined that this week. And I listened intently to many of the classes, and some of them I'm still going, oh my. So I'll definitely be going back over and listening to what I recorded and some notes and things like that, because it is quite involved.
Very much so. It's one of those things that if you wanted to collect all royalties owed to you, and your music was literally everywhere. There's radio, there's internet radio, there's digital sales or streaming royalties. Music distributors generally handle that. There's live performance. You can submit your live performance to organizations nowadays to get some compensation for that. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of stuff to know on that side of things to be able to claim all of your royalties and all of your income streams. And do you feel like the conference has so far fulfilled on all the knowledge that you felt like you needed to proceed?
I think that the conference has exceeded my expectations. in my opinion. I feel that there was a lot of planning. There was a lot of careful planning put into this event. I think that even down to helping find out which hotel you could stay at.
Yes.
Having it in a venue where I know that they're associated with Musicians Institute, but it also happens to be near great hotels. Yeah. There are stores where if you don't want to eat out, you can go get yourself something to eat and cook at home, or whatever you're staying in. In my case, I had that option. And I could walk here. I found that it was very meticulously planned.
It really was, and I have been poking fun at it here and there, guys, but that's just me being kind of funny. What Linda's saying here is absolutely the case. That, like, I'm staying at Motel 6, the walk is 8 minutes to the Musicians Institute. Already incredible. If I want to go get a smoothie or something, it's a 15-minute walk. Nothing crazy. I mean, I'm glad I'm wearing runners, I will say that. But if I was wearing boots this weekend, I don't know, because I've been doing over 7,000 steps a day, and I think yesterday was over 8,000.
Good.
Yeah, but I feel good doing it. It's not. I don't feel tired. My legs and feet are doing just fine.
Yes. I think there's too much going on where my body may start feeling tired, but then I start thinking about what's coming up the next day and what I need to do. I had an amazing experience, if I could share with you.
Yeah, please.
I met a lovely lady named Althea who was invited on stage to sing during Paul Smith presentation on harmony, melody, and
harmony, melody, and rhythm.
Yeah. And he was laying the law down on what you need to be doing. And that's part of my journey. I'll be going home, and I'm going to be really focusing on harmony, melody, and rhythm, making sure that my songs are tighter. And that's what I got from that. Make sure that they're tight, where they're understandable, but they're reachable. You know what I mean? And adjusting those things. But back to that class, Althea was invited to come up and sing with the band, and the band were, there's no way I just sat there with, holding it together and not letting my jaws drop. So there was Paul Reed Smith, the drummer.
Yes, I can't think of his name right now.
Alex,
I think, was on the bass.
And on the bass.
Tim Pierce on guitar.
Tim Pierce on guitar.
Yeah.
Tim Pierce on guitar is like, we all know things like Eric Clapton. You know, we see those kind of, we think of the Jimmy Page and that kind of thing, guitar players. This was a guitar player that I was not familiar with, but I feel is at that level or above. And their language between them and the drummer was out of this world. So there was 3 of us out in the audience, and we're like, well, she has to have backup singers. So we're going, back up. And he let us come up. And there's 3 of us that came up there. We don't even know each other. And we were able to do backup together.
Yes.
And just having that chemistry together, being on the stage with such esteemed musicians, you know, and then watching Althea, I sincerely pray that this is going to be the movement of Althea's career upward, that she's made connections that will last her the rest of her life. And I still haven't come down from that. It was amazing.
And the song was Money, right?
Money.
Yeah, exactly.
Money.
Everyone should know that one.
Yes,
great,
yes.
Great tune.
Classic tune, yes. So
I do pay attention to guitar tube a lot, whether that's something people know or not. So Tim Pierce being like, there are a lot of people, a lot of personalities doing the guitar tube, YouTube sort of thing. But Tim Pierce certainly stands out in a way and has frequently appeared with people like Rick Beato as well. So 1,000 albums he's played on. And obviously things in session playing these days have changed a lot. Like if you charge by the hour, this is one of the things Tim was saying, if you charge by the hour, he says he's done within an hour. So that means there's not always a lot of income in it, certainly as there used to be. But yeah, he played on many legendary albums, over 1,000. So it's pretty crazy.
And it's over 1,000 of people who...
Yeah, famous.
Very. I mean, and then same with the bass player. It's funny how you sit in the class and you listen to the names and your jaw drops a little bit, but it's like, Oh, okay. And then Eric Walls.
Yes, Eric Walls was here as Stuart.
Eric Walls has been here, and that interview I thought was very nice. Eric Walls has a demeanor that exudes welcoming.
I absolutely.
And
couldn't agree more.
He is a very talented musician. I used to sing, not with him, but we went to church together. So I was in the choir and he was guitar player. So that's how I knew him from before. And to hear him on stage talk about, he's been with, huge artists like Beyonce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just the kind of talent that taught me that no matter how big you get, it's really not about you. It's about making sure that your talent stays at a strong level, that you're approachable, and that you know how to talk to people.
Yeah. I think much has been said about being a good hang in the industry, but that still very much remains the case if you want steady and consistent work. So that's really key. And also having something new, because you're only as good as the last thing you put out. And that means if you didn't put out anything this year, it's March already. And it might be April by the time people see this interview. So you need to get.
Speaking of which, when I leave here, I'm looking forward to releasing a single called I Love You. My genre is gospel music. However, it's in multiple genres. So I'll look forward to finishing that. Hopefully I'll be able to work with a producer named Andrew Bradley, and we can release that, and not only not release the project, but go ahead and promote the project properly, which is one of the main things I've learned here, how to promote that project.
And while you're at it, is there anything else you'd like to plug or share with our viewers, listeners, audience?
Well, the main thing I want to say is that I'm just grateful that I came here. To meet David, to meet the people that I've met here. I just feel like the Lord has brought me to a wonderful place. And I'm grateful to meet your audience as well.
Is there anything you'd like to see in future conferences, for future music pros?
I think that it would be nice to have more individual instrumental times.
Yeah.
Like certain
bands or...
Bands and then keyboard things, because as a keyboard player myself, I would like to have those mentors. Paul Reed Smith said one thing that I will never ever forget: you learn by sitting at the knee. In other words, if you're getting a place where you don't feel you're going any further, get yourself a teacher. Go somewhere and listen. And I love listening to other players. There's a program called Open Studio that I am participating in as far as being a jazz musician, and they're on YouTube. They are fabulous, and they they teach in a way that you can get it. Remembering the other main things I've heard several teachers say here today: small increments get you a long way.
Yeah.
Not trying to feel like you have to come up with this huge product, and then it's going to be this huge success. It's about being steady, persevering.
Yeah, I think so too. And based on the sessions that I've seen, you want to have the ideal release schedule is every 4 to 6 weeks, preferably more than one song. But if one song is all you got, that's what you would put out there. Yeah, just to keep present. But more than that, apparently, can be too much in terms of the algorithm. So for algorithm's sake, it's better for every 4 to 6 weeks.
If you don't mind me adding to that,
sure.
You have to give people time to absorb what you've done.
I think so too.
People, there's seldom you would hear songs that you love it and you just hold on to it. There was an artist named Jenna Marie, and she was on YouTube, and she just got on their acoustic live and did a song she wrote called I'd Never Been Thin. And that thing blew up, and I think it might have caught her back because I haven't heard anything from her. That was last year when she put that out, and I did purchase it, from Amazon, and just that one song, that was one of those songs that just caught you. And the other thing is they talked about in the songwriting class that I was in, That was Judy Stakey. She talked about telling stories. And the main thing that if I could share with your audience that caught me, take care of your mind, your body, and your soul.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's really important. And to be honest with you, I had a previous career where that was not the case. And now I realize I'll put out a better product if I do what she says.
That is definitely something I've stressed through the years. So I couldn't agree more. Beware of burnout. Try to do things like, yes, we want to release on a schedule. Yes, we want to maintain activity to create momentum and keep that momentum in our careers. But without you, there is no business. Or without you, there is no career, if you prefer that term. So that's really good stuff, Linda.
Thank you for doing this.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you
it.
so much. All right, thanks for watching all. See you again soon.
End of day 3. End of conference. Well, kudos certainly goes out to the organizers here, because for their first conference, whoa, Nelly, did they do an incredible job. They really did. And I have to acknowledge them for that, because I didn't see any mishaps, which isn't to say there weren't some. I could not get to every session. It would be unrealistic to think that I could. There's simply too much going on simultaneously. So it's not to say there were never any mishaps at all. Perhaps there were. Perhaps there were scheduling conflicts. In fact, I don't think David Page of Toto made it. Got taken off the schedule at some point. I could be wrong about that. Maybe I just didn't look at the schedule right, but I don't think he was there. They certainly approached more than one person for an interview, but that's what I managed to get today. There were at least three others whom I extended that offer to, and for whatever reason, it just didn't quite line up the way I thought it would. It didn't come together the way I'd hoped it would. But that's okay. At the end of the day, I'm actually not sad, because in some cases I just vowed to, okay, I'm going to connect with them online after the fact and maybe follow up and do an interview with them at that point. There's nothing wrong with that, but certainly capturing some footage and going home with it was one of the prerogatives or incentives or potential reasons for being here.
All right, are we ready to check out some goodies? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the goodies, the tote bags, the things I walked away with from Music Pro 26. First off, we've got this tote bag. Nothing too fancy, but it's always nice to see something from the conference, a bag, something that you can carry stuff in. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff in here that is mostly just print materials, but there is some interesting stuff in here. Here's a little container from Sound Exchange, which contains some earbuds. This is not a unique idea, clearly, because some other companies also gave us earplugs, not earbuds, earplugs. This is a serrated earplug, I guess. Let's go easy on the euphemisms. All right. Here's the other one from BMI, earplugs. I could show you real quick, but these are pretty standard. Nicely packaged, but as you can see, blue earplugs. And now we're going to start getting into a lot of the stickers and print materials. I don't even know what this is because it's backwards, but maybe the camera is actually showing it the right way around. This is probably what it is. Let music fill my world. I don't even remember where these stickers came from. Sticker and tattoo, I guess.
Little promo card from Music Pro Insurance. Got a couple of things from them as well. An advertisement from How to Master Your Music, featuring multi-Grammy award-winning mastering engineers Ruben Cohen and Gavin Lurson. That probably would have been a good session, if it was a session, I'm not sure. And a card here from MLC. This is a company that helps you collect all of your streaming royalties, the MLC team. We've got another card here from Blaise. If I remember correctly, their company is mostly based around like loops and sound packs and things like that. Pandora. Guess this would be a little sticker as well. They also had a presence at the event. In fact, I think they might have been responsible for one of the after parties, which I did not go to. We've got the obligatory promotional pamphlet for Musicians Institute. It's a little bit too little too late for me. Not that I can't continue to learn and improve on my instruments or become a better producer. That's not what I'm saying, and I'm going to continue to work on those things. I'm just saying I think I've got the foundations down. There was a little Music Matters challenge going on at the event, and this I think was happening literally just at the event. So if you didn't participate and record your stuff there, you didn't get anything. Another obligatory Musicians Institute card, another card via the MLC team. Haven't even really had a chance to look at this, but it kind of shows a chart of how digital music royalties flow from one thing to another. We've got a card here from Sound Exchange. This thing got a little crumpled, but a little card here from Music Pro Academy, Tiamo De Vettori. Here's an MI wristband. I won this. They had a wheel to spin at their table, and I spun it twice and got a wristband both times. After that, they just said, you can take whatever you want. So I did. A little card here from BandLab. And I don't know how this snuck its way into my grab bag or even how I managed to hold on to one. I had a friend who was like, oh, there's a church here. It's so amazing. And then she got those. This is useless now, but it did hold my badge at one point. We got a couple more sticker type things. One from PRS Guitars. Love that sticker. There's one from Music Pro Insurance. I don't know if anyone feels cool promoting insurance. It can be a cool thing, but maybe we can talk about that another time if we ever talk about investments on this channel. And there was also a Music Connection magazine included in this tote bag. Haven't really looked at it yet. Looks like a lot of advertisements, listings, but there are some articles and pictures and stuff too. One last thing I had to go and grab. It's an MI keychain, but it's also a beer bottle opener. Handy. I don't always keep beer around. In fact, for the most part, I don't. But on the rare occasion, I like to enjoy one. I just wanted to show you all of it before it spreads itself out across my living quarters. Unfortunately, I didn't win any prizes at the event. I was kind of hoping I'd win a PRS guitar. And there were some pretty decent prizes. They were like, there's a lot. Like, they really made it sound like there was 50 prizes, 100 prizes. There were not. There were maybe 10 to 20. But look, some of them were pretty expensive microphones. Some of them were guitars and things like that. So yeah, in terms of overall price point, they managed to get a lot of great, I assume, donations from different companies for the event. Welcome to the closing segment. Now, I could use this space to reiterate and summarize the lessons, the discoveries, the many things I learned on this Music Pro 26 journey, but I really didn't think it was the best use, given that it's actually been a few months since Music Pro 26, and I've had the chance to think and reflect on everything that transpired. So what I would like to do really is cover where I'm at now. I also want to refer you to a blog post I wrote shortly after attending Music Pro 26. It summarizes many of the thoughts or some of the more immediate things that came to mind at that particular point in time. So I'll make sure to put a link in the description. The first thing I like to say about the event is that I'm grateful to have been invited, and I'm glad that I actually took the time and went down. I may have poked fun at the event or said some silly things about this, but it really came at a time when I was still kind of wondering what to do with my life and if I should still continue with my own music and supporting independent artists. I've really been doing a lot of soul searching, as you probably gathered from some of this footage. I guess in a way, I was shocked that I was being invited back into the element, that somehow, some way, I couldn't just get away from this music thing. But at the end of the day,
I'm really glad I went. The second thing is opportunity really does seem to like speed. There were some people with whom I built a relationship with on day one who I thought I might have the opportunity to talk to on day two, but I didn't know that they weren't attending day two and day three, so I never had the chance to interview them. So oftentimes the best idea is just to seize the moment. Third, show up like you own the place. Now, I want to say up front that I'm not talking about thinking of yourself as the hottest thing since Justin Bieber or acting arrogantly or aloof or any of that kind of thing. The thing is, when you're out there, you're representing yourself. So if you go to a conference as a musician, and if you're depressed, if you're not talking to others, if you look like you're not really having a great time, then other people aren't really going to be interested or attracted or magnetized to you either. I know we all have our moments and we just have to do the best we can. I showed up to Music Pro 26 a little bit under the weather and also feeling kind of sad and working through a lot of things over the weekend. So wasn't always able to present myself the way I wanted to, but nevertheless, we got to do our best whenever we're showing up in public spaces. And although it's taken me a little while to understand this, I'm now starting to see why I'm being invited to places like Hollywood and Las Vegas and Thailand. And in light of that, it's become obvious as to why it's important how I present myself at the events that I go to. Fourth, be prepared. Now, perhaps it's possible that the wires got crossed a little bit between myself and the event organizers and what we expected or what we would have available in terms of recording equipment. They did set aside a table for me where I could interview people. Unfortunately, there was simply no equipment, and all that I had with me was my selfie stick and my iPhone. Now, this wasn't a paid opportunity, and I certainly don't think there were any expectations in terms of having multiple microphones or multiple pairs of headphones and things like that. But in the future, I hope I am asked to do paid opportunities, and I hope I do have the right gear with me to capture the event and the spirit of it and the people who are there. Fifth, I still love music, and I still love supporting and helping independent artists with their careers. And when I say that as someone who's had a pretty rocky relationship with it at times. But somehow, even with all the ebbs and flows, it seems like I find my way back to music. Somehow, some way, it seems like it's written in stone and it's exactly what I should be doing and it's exactly where I need to be. So in case the message got muddy somewhere along the line during this video, I want you to know that I'm more committed and I'm more dedicated to the cause than ever. And with that, it's honestly kind of a relief to be bringing this Music Pro 26 story arc to a close. It's been a lot of fun, but it's something that also happened months ago. So it's about time we moved on to new territory. But if you enjoyed this, I've got plenty more to come. So please follow along this journey. Thank you.